Have you ever considered that what you believe and say to yourself all day long is quite literally going to determine everything that you say and do, and therefore get you what you do or don't have? Welcome back to the Active Life Podcast, the #1 podcast by fitness professionals for fitness professionals. I'm Larry Geyer, and today I'm going to be interviewing my co-host, Cody Ringel, on how you can start to not only become more aware of your internal dialogue so that you can kill what isn't working and start installing what will, but start to help others do the same. I think you're going to get a lot out of this. You know what I was thinking about the other day?
Tell me.
So one of my clients, I was trying to cue his position, and I said, I want you to bend over as if there's a rich Arab behind you. And he says, excuse me, I'm a top. However, I would make an exception for an oil money Arab. And then I realized this is a pattern where whenever there's something uncomfortable, he'll immediately want to diffuse the discomfort of the thing by making light of it and having a light conversation.
Do you think that buys, like in his mind, that buys him time from avoiding the thing?
I don't know that it buys him time as much as it does numb him from pain.
And
I think a lot of us do that.
Like that's his coping mechanism.
Yes.
Humor.
Yes. And I think a lot of us do that.
Well, I think if you look at some very successful comedians, they'll say the same thing. Like they got so funny because it was a way to diffuse their environment.
Talking about like Kamala?
Yeah, it's hilarious. The accents,
Right.
Forget about it.
Okay. So what do we do about that? Because to me, underneath that, if there's a client that has a dialogue in their head around who they are, what they look like, what they're capable of, what this thing means about them, and it's either helping them or it's not, and if you're not aware of it, you can't be coaching them as effectively as you would otherwise like to be.
So are you identifying a limiting belief?
They might not see it as limiting, but
you do.
Identifying a set of beliefs and subsequent behaviors that cause people to end up with a certain pattern of results over and over and over again. That is not what they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's creating the outcome that they're trying to avoid, or at the very least, something that they don't want
100%
for themselves.
I know that you spend a lot of time here, and I'm curious how you help someone uncover that.
I mean,
first of all, assuming that they're interested.
Yes. So awareness is the first step. They have to recognize that this is a thing, and this is a thing that I would like to change.
That sounds so redundant.
What do you mean?
How often do you hear, well, at least you're aware of the thing. You're halfway there.
Well, it's the first step.
Oh, it's true. It's just annoying.
What's annoying about it?
I've just heard it so many times.
Huh. Because you've been in the coaching space for a very long time.
Maybe it's because I've been so fucked up for so long that I've had so many people say, Larry, at least you're aware.
Is that your therapist go-to?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, all right. So I agree. So first, there's an awareness that this is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's the what and the why. Right.
This is what I do. Here, I could agree. This is why I'm doing it. All right. Now what?
Do you want it to be different?
What's in it for me?
A categorically different life, a better life.
Right.
I don't know, leaning into discomfort.
Yeah.
So for the eventual rewards that it creates.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So go on. Yeah. Take us there. How you start to uncover this, and
you're aware of it. You acknowledge that you want to make a change. From there, you can get there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I don't know that there is necessarily you do this, then you do this, then you do this, right? Because there's a phase of experimentation here. What you're describing is what are the variables that we can change to facilitate a different outcome. And I don't think many people look at their lives as an experiment, but that's all that this thing is. You get one, and all you're doing is testing different experiments.
So wild,
right? So
one giant experiment.
It is. Like, what do you want to be different, right? Do you want to be stronger? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to wake up earlier in the morning? Like, do you want to have a better relationship? Do you want to make more money? What is the thing that you want, right? And if we're thinking about the coaching client relationship, right, which I don't even really like the word coach because it's been co-opted by so many of these yahoos out there.
Can you define a yahoo?
Anybody who has coach, and that's like, they're going to take you on their proposition is I'm going to take you on this spiritual journey of transformation.
It's almost predatory, isn't it?
It is.
I'm thinking about a dude that has like some sort of button-down shirt that's open 3/4 of the way down.
Like a little too far?
No, like substantially too far.
Yeah.
Like there are 2 buttons on the bottom that are still intact.
Yeah.
And he's got this like this necklace of like a big shell on it. And he's got a bunch of bracelets.
Yep.
And he's he's some sort of like spiritual sex
Probably a long beard, long hair.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, coach has been co-opted because a lot of people are using it and they're con artists. So what do we do instead?
So
what's the relationship you want to describe? Because that's what it sounds like you want to get to.
Mentorship.
Okay.
Right. So that is a yes, I want this, and yes, I want to help you. Right. So the client needs to acknowledge that they want to go somewhere different, and the coach, the professional, the individual, the mentor needs to decide that yes, I'm inspired to take you on this journey.
And capable.
That's a huge piece of it. Right. So the piece with that I think a lot of people miss, especially early on in their coaching profession, is they don't know when it is okay to say, I'm not the guy to help you do this. They'll default to, yeah, sure, I can help you with that.
I help everybody.
Yeah.
I would help anyone.
I can help everybody. I can help you do this. Sure. You want to change the way that you fundamentally view the world? I'm your guy.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is it more visually distracting that I'm rolling my chewing gum in my fingertips for people that are watching? Or is it more auditorily distracting that it's in my mouth sometimes?
I don't know. I don't know that you need either.
Well, I'm not dropping it on the floor because we'll forget that forever.
Put it in your pocket.
I'm going to keep rolling it.
Okay.
So, all right, in whatever the relationship is, you identify as a normal human being who actually wants to help people and be decent. So how do we start to, what's the significance of, and how do we start to help people uncover their dialogues and then make shifts? And I would even love if you could paint some more examples of what's a dialogue what's a shitty dialogue and what's a helpful one.
Okay. So shitty dialogue would be something like, and I'll use examples from clients, right? I want to start eating healthy, but my husband, my wife always brings garbage into the house.
Okay.
They always bring potato chips. They always bring, like, they're not on the same journey as me. They're not interested. They're not inspired to do it. So they're always bringing it in, and therefore they're self-sabotaging, or they're sabotaging me. Right? That's an unhelpful dialogue because what that takes away is your personal ownership, your power, your decision-making capability.
No responsibility, no agency,
Right.
and plenty of blame.
Yes.
Fundamentally, you've identified as a victim of your wife's actions.
100%. Right? So if you're in that victim state, that victim mentality, it's when your emotional state or your decision-making capability is influenced by someone or something outside of yourself. You can think of that as being in the victim mentality, right? Okay. She made me mad. He makes me eat like shit.
Okay. What's an example of a healthy one?
That would be where you're taking back more ownership and more. So using the same example, right? Even though my husband brings pop, Doritos, all the bullshit into the house, I make the decision not to engage with that.
You said pop. I just want to make sure everyone that's listening or watching understands we're talking about soda.
Yeah, this is a Midwest thing.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I know.
Not everyone here is from fucking its sister-in-law's my wife, Michigan, wherever the hell you're from.
But the people west of Ohio, they're going to get it.
All right. So, yeah, this idea that, look, but this is what my conditions are, and here's what I've been doing to do my best in spite of these conditions.
Yes. It's personal ownership, authority, and power, right? It's the decision, again, that you do want something to change. Now, it can't die there. Like, for a lot of people, they might go through this exercise. They might think, okay, these are the things that I want to change. And the first point of resistance, they take that as evidence for why they can't have the thing that they want. Right? So the individual who wants to change the way that they eat, yeah, but there's this birthday party coming up, and I've got to have cake there. Right. Well, my husband keeps bringing this food into the house, or my wife keeps bringing this food into the house. And, I get to the end of the day and I just lack self-control. So I've had a long day, right? We continue to perpetuate this story about how we are not the creator of our own reality and our own choices, our own systems, right? The individual who uses humor to mask discomfort, they could be doing something like, at first they're aware of it, right? Like, oh yeah, every time that I get into this situation where I feel discomfort or I feel uncomfortable, I try to make light of it, right? And I try to add some brevity to the situation because what that does, that shields me from attacking it with any sort of effort or enthusiasm. And at least if I do, I have a default, I have a bailout, right? Because I really expected to fail anyway. Right? So we set these expectations of failure. Okay. So we give ourselves the outs. We need to take those away. You need to take the agency, take the ownership, the understanding that you have exactly what you believe you deserve. No more, no less.
Oh, interesting. I appreciate that you said you have exactly what you believe you deserve, not you have exactly what you deserve.
Yeah, because there's no such thing as what you deserve.
Yeah.
You don't deserve a fucking thing.
I hate that word.
Deserve?
It's just empty fucking calories. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What a concept, man. So, believe you deserve. What does it mean to believe to deserve something?
Well, there's a lot of ways that you can go about this, right? A lot of things that you can go back to. It could be just making the decision in yourself, with yourself, that your life can be different than it is today. It can be better.
In a favorable way for you.
Yes. Well, I mean, the victim would be the person who identifies that their life could be different, but it's going to be in an unfavorable way, right? Mostly because of the external factors, right? We're talking about external and internal, right? The internal, the belief says, you know what? Things can be different for me. It may be difficult, may be hard. There may be things that I need to change, and I'm okay with that. So we need to be okay with changing. I would imagine that's true, right? You can't take the same individual. You put the same individual in a new environment. They're most likely going to create the same outcome if you don't change anything about the individual, the way that they think, the actions that they take, the patterns of behavior. That's it. They're used to dependency, and they're going to continue to perpetuate a dependent system.
Hey, it's Dr. Sean here reminding you that if you are a coach who wants to fill the gap neglected by fitness and healthcare, and you want to make a career doing it, we might be able to help you. Head to the show notes. There's a link there. You're going to click that link to download the ALP curriculum. That's the stuff that we teach to coaches over the course of 13 months to turn them into world-class professionals who never have to worry about missing a paycheck again, doing work they love to do. Go ahead and check that out, and I'll see you on the other side. Let's get you back to the show.
What are ways that you can imagine? What would it sound like? Or maybe you have I would really actually like a story, because I know that you got a bunch of these. Is there a time you can recall where you can walk through an actual example of what it sounded like to help someone claim a more effective dialogue? Because I think that it might be easy for someone to hear, claim an effective dialogue. What the fuck does that even mean? How does someone actually, who's in a position where they really want to be guiding people more effectively, what's an example of what it might have looked like or sounded like to help someone do that, so people listening can say, oh, I can help someone do that. That's a game changer.
Okay, so here's an indirect outcome of direct work like this.
Okay.
All right. 2 examples. Both clients that I've had that we started doing some of this work, not just outside of the exercise, right? We were already doing that. We started doing some of this internal dialogue work. One applied for a job that she previously didn't believe that she deserved, got the job, makes 50% more, has more free time, is able to impact the people that she works with and works for in a way that she was unable to before, because she was at an individual job where she was sitting behind a desk and kind of helping with parts and shipping and stuff, ends up taking the job that she finds more fulfilling, which is teaching people, right? Teaching kids. She finds a tremendous amount of impact, and both of those things become true because she decided that she was the type of person who was worthy enough to teach other people the skill set that she had already cultivated.
That's a good one.
The second one, and this was 2 years after we had stopped working together, decided that the relationship that she was in with her husband was no longer fulfilling and inspiring to her because they valued things so differently. She was on a journey of self-improvement, health, fitness, healing, decided that that was the path that she wanted for herself. He decided that it was not the path that he was interested or inspired to go down. And as a matter of fact, she'd changed. And he didn't like the change that she had made. She liked the person that she was, which was no longer the person that decided to enter the relationship. And she decided to leave.
It's a powerful move.
I mean, look,
I think that there's so much that people might overlook when they hear, and then she decided to leave.
Yeah, it was 2 years. It was over the course of 2 years that she decides to leave. Right. And this was after we had stopped working together.
Well, I think that to your point, that is the full arc of going from a victim to an empowered position.
Mm-hmm.
So what I imagine that what she heard in her head or believed she deserved from the beginning of that 2 years to the end of that 2 years was dramatically different.
I would agree with that. Look, it's the business owner, right, that starts the thing as a side hustle, as a hobby, as a thing to the thing that he does in his free time or her free time.
All right, so what do? We just start going around asking everyone what they think they deserve, and then asking questions until they decide that they deserve differently.
Might be a reasonable place to start.
More or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the better question to me here is this what you want?
I just got an idea. What if, I don't know if we've ever done this before. Maybe we have. What if we gave everyone that's listening to this right now something actionable that could materialize in a week or two of them doing the thing we gave them? And then they could be like, oh shit, this stuff works.
Like what?
What if we gave a piece of action for homework that would allow them to actually start doing this with real people?
Okay.
Whoever it is, personal or professional.
Okay.
Like, what if we were give like a task for like a couple of folks? What are we going to do? Then what can we expect to see on the other side?
Okay.
You got anything? I can whip something up.
Let's go with you first.
I'll start. So, what if it was something like, okay, I want you to think of three people that you influence strongly on a weekly basis. 3 people that you strongly influence on a weekly basis. It could be your wife. It could be a client. It could be a friend. It could be a coworker. It could be a parent. It could be a kid. Like, who are 3 people that you influence strongly on a weekly basis anywhere, local or remote? What can we do to become more clear and more completely understand where they're at and what they might believe about what they deserve? Find out what they actually want. And then maybe, here's where I would want your help. Ask the kind of questions that would allow them to at least seed the idea that they deserve something different that they might not believe they deserve right now. Whether this is something that matures over the course of a week because it's a relatively small change to make, or it's the seed of doubt that allows something to mature over the course of a year, we could start to seed that this week. You follow me on that?
Yeah.
Where can people go with this? Give them the guidelines.
Well, if we're going back to curiosity, right, as a principle of the type of person that we want to be and the type of opportunity that we have, what questions do you have that are brewing in the back of your mind that you're not asking?
All right. So it's the first one is you're going to write a list of 3 people that you influence strongly every week. You write their names. And then under that, we're going to ask, what are 3 questions that are brewing in the back of our mind, something that we're really curious about that we never ask or would never think we ought to ask? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Where might that lead us?
Well, it's going to get you some answers if you ask the right type of people.
Never thought about it that way. That makes sense. All right. So we get some answers.
Okay.
And then what do we do?
Well, you need to decide, of those answers, is there anything in there that I, as the guide, the mentor, am interested and inspired to help this person through? Or remember, our role as the professional, as the guide, as the mentor, is to see 3 steps ahead and the potential outcomes of taking those steps. Right? So once we identify as this something that I'm interested and inspired by, we can then start to ask we can go on the thought experiment of what sort of outcome does this create 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years from now, if we do not change this. If we don't change this, the answers to these questions, right? These beliefs that the individual has. And then we can propose, based on that, we can propose an alternate fork in the, like an alternate path. From there, it becomes the individual's, the other person, the client, the person you're talking to's responsibility to decide whether they are happy with the path that they're on or whether they would like things to be different. Because what we don't want to do in this is we don't want to create a dependent system where this person is coming to you for answers. I think this is what a lot of coaches do wrong. They create the system where I'm the gatekeeper to the next step that you need to take, and therefore you always need me to help you and to guide you. If you do your job really well as a coach, as a professional, as a trainer, your client should leave. They should have the capacity to leave.
Right. Well, there's a difference between needing you and wanting you.
100%.
So, yeah, even if you don't propose any solutions, it sounds like the idea of asking these questions, getting some answers, and then asking some follow-up questions, at the very least, is going to leave your clients seeing and thinking about their lives differently than they did before the questions, the answers, and then the follow-up questions.
Mm-hmm. I think you should avoid proposing solutions if at all possible.
Yeah, I agree. So now they've had light shown on the landscape in a way that they have not. And then now it's your job to find out how much interest and agency they are interested in assuming and pursuing a different direction.
Mm-hmm. And then,
that's good stuff.
If at all, how do I support them in that? Because the answer might be you don't. There's nothing that you need to do. This individual needs someone else's support.
Well, for the two examples that you gave, how much support was there and how much did the clients just end up doing on their own? Because I think this is where people could be like, well, how much do I do? How much don't I do?
There was very little support and all questions. That was it. There was no, hey, I think you should do this. It was, what if you did that? What would then happen? What would be the first step? What would be the thing that you would do after that? What's the outcome that you're hoping to achieve?
I hired an ADHD coach 6 months ago. And after 2 months, I told her, just so you know, I have no idea where this is going or whether or not this is the kind of work that you like to do, but basically I'm going to be here until you fire me. One of the questions that she asked me that I had never just heard before was when she's very, very good at just asking the questions that leads me to get to my own thing. The things that we do for people every day. She's the person who does that for me. Mm-hmm. And one question that she asked that I really enjoyed was after she got me to walk through well, what about this? What if you did it this way? What do you imagine would happen? Why would that be the one that you would want to do instead? After I have all that, I'm like, all right, cool, nice. The next question that she asks is, what potential roadblocks do you anticipate? That one's really helpful for me because now it's like, well, everyone's got to play until they get punched in the face. When you get punched in the face, it doesn't mean that you don't want to win anymore. So when you get punched in the face, how do we solve for that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. All right, how do we wrap this thing up? We want to talk about snorting more ravioli.
I think we're complete.
Surfing, macaroni and cheese. All right, I got one. You can, as an accoutrement to one of your final meals before you die, you're going to have a perfect serving of any kind of macaroni and cheese you want. You can have, hold on a second, you can have so not macaroni. You can have any kind of pasta you want. It can be any kind of cheese you want. That's not the important question today. We'll dive into that deeply in a different episode. What I do want to know is you could have any other ingredient, like a something ravioli. I'm sorry, a something macaroni and cheese, right? Like lobster macaroni and cheese, bacon macaroni and cheese, whatever the hell. What's the one other ingredient you would want?
None.
You would just want plain macaroni and cheese?
I would want Kraft macaroni and cheese, the blue fucking box. Straight out of the blue box. Whole fat milk, butter, let's go. Don't mess with perfection.
Perfection. Interesting interpretation.
What's your accoutrement?
I don't know yet. I wanted to get some inspiration. I was thinking about macaroni and cheese 5 minutes ago. I don't know why, but I haven't stopped thinking about it since. And I want to spice up my life a little bit, and I want to make fancy ravioli. I mean, fancy. What the fuck? Ever since you started talking about snorting ravioli, I can't stop saying ravioli now. I'm going to start saying ravioli in coaching sessions. My clients are going to be, what are you talking about? I'm just thinking about fancy mac and cheese now. I don't know. Any suggestions, we'll take them.
Oh, you can do like the shells.
See ya.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please head to wherever you listen and leave us that 5-star rating. It really does go a long way. 5 stars goes a long way. Please leave them. If you're interested in working with us as a coach, remember, we help coaches from around the world build fulfilling careers, working with clients they're inspired to help so they never have to worry about being able to pay your bills again. No one's ever going to ask you if you are going to get a real job when you work with Active Life. All you have to do, head into the show notes, click the link that you find there, download our curriculum. That will give you a feel for what it is going to take for you to be successful. A team member of ours will reach out to you to find out if it's a fit for us to work together. Till the next show, turn pro.